Hello and welcome to Open Paddock, the RallyCast number 49 for February the 12th, 2019. Look at that, we're almost to number 50. This week we have Michael Hooper of River City Racing as our guest. We'll find out about how he got bit by the rally bug and why he decided to choose a Lexus as his rally weapon of choice. Hoop also took first place at the inaugural Missouri Ozarks Regional Rally a week ago, where he did a charity raffle with the winner being rewarded a co-drive. This is Open Paddock, the RallyCast. Well, it won't have escaped your notice that we've mixed things up a bit this week. We weren't even sure if there was going to be a show tonight. Well, I was actually digging my way into my house this evening. Greetings, Mike. How does it feel to be in the co-driver's seat, so to speak?
It feels great, actually. You know, I get to let you do all the hard work, and let's see here. Maybe I can make you edit it, too. Ha-ha.
I don't have any editing software, no.
Yeah, you darn Mac users. Oh, I think I offended some people there. Especially considering I think our listener base is majority people on iPhones downloading through iTunes. So apologies there. Anyways, but no, I'm totally cool with you being the lead presenter. Have at it, man.
Okay, right. Well, first, we have some feedback from Snowdrift Show number 47. The first piece is like my wife says that after listening to that podcast, she said, I don't talk enough.
Well, you're making up for it now, that's for sure.
That's for sure, isn't it? And our second piece is that it has to be an apology, really, doesn't it, Mike?
Well, that's all me. You know, you went for, did that TSD in the Audi R8 with your friend Keith Morgan, and I was being sarcastically, hopefully funny, and apparently not, about how the Audi R8, you know, you guys had to, I was saying that, you know, it's a car that's only for pristine conditions and all that stuff. Come on, the reality is we'd all die to ride in an R8 or drive one or be around one. Those things are killer cars. And it does have all the hallmarks, of course, of a true rally beast, the way that they design it with the all-wheel drive and all that stuff. Unfortunately, you guys did end up last place, but that was just really cool to have a car like that out in that environment. That was some serious snow you guys were in too. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was an interesting day. That snow was beautiful, and I was. Yeah, I mean, that R8 experience. It was almost a life-changing experience for me in a way because you know I didn't know what supercars were about until I got in that car, and the way it handled on the roads, on the packed snow, it was an incredible experience. And I also
and the sound, and that's one thing that supercars they really tend to do intentionally, right? Is make it so you do hear the engine noise, whereas every other car in the market is about how do we get rid of engine noise.
And it did. It sounded absolutely fantastic. Yeah, but even I have to put out a little bit of an apology to Keith as well because I kept getting Keith's name wrong. I was calling him Keith Walker in the podcast last time, and it is Keith Morgan. I don't know why. I'm just bad with people's names. In fact, Mike, if you look at the show notes here, I've got down our special guest as Michael Cooper. So sometimes I am just not very good with names. So sorry, Keith. I'll get your name right next time, and I owe you a pint or two. So we've got our apologies.
Let's hope that Keith, though, he had a good rally experience, even though you know you guys didn't place like you wanted to, and that car will be out there doing TSDs again because you know Audis they need to be rallied, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so we've got our apologies out of the way, so it's time to get on with the show proper and do what we do best. Talk rally.
All right, let's do it with the hoop.
Hey, Mike, have you noticed how this year we've only had guests on the podcast who are winners? We had Doug Shepherd, who's won so many times he's a rally legend. We had the Brown brothers, so we've had Cameron and Preston at ODD. And now we're adding another name to our winners club. Winner of the Missouri Ozarks Regional Rally this last weekend, Michael Hooper. Michael, welcome to the Winners Show. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great, Ian. Thanks for having me. I was wondering where you're going with it. I'm glad you're calling me a winner. I was nervous for a minute there.
Well, we did start off with like Doug Shepard, so we're putting you in the legend class for a start there. So
I'll take it. I don't believe it, but I'll take it. Good company.
So we like to start with the first and the easy questions first. How did you get started in rallying?
Well, I grew up out on the peninsula, Olympic Peninsula, Washington State, and I guess I really did a lot, most of my rallying before I actually had a rally car. Wasn't much to do out there, and the very first day I got my license, I was supposed to go mountain biking, and that mountain bike ride was 5 miles down a gravel road, and I realized that the gravel road was way more fun than the mountain biking, and never actually made it to the trail that day. Just ended up driving all over.
Love it.
And pretty much then until I was 19, every chance we got, if we had money, it went in the gas tank and we went in the woods.
What kind of car were you driving?
Well, I was making a lot of cars rare those days. S10 Blazer actually was what I got my start in. So Ian, you'll like that. And then that ended up upside down at some point, and I had a whole slew of small 4-cylinder, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, Datsun B210,
classic,
Chevy Cavalier, 4-cylinder automatic. You could actually pull off reverse entries with that thing. A Subaru, I had one Subaru in there, just beaters mainly. And eventually a little Corolla E86. Again, it was a beater, but obviously a little more fun than the other ones. Disposable, I guess, is the common thread on all my vehicles.
So you're out here in the Northwest getting a taste of the roads, but what was the actual first rally you ended up entering then?
Well, I didn't even know rally existed, actually. The peninsula is kind of isolated out there, so we did that for, like I said, probably 3 years until I was 19. And then we found Ben's Rally page. I don't know if you guys remember that from way back in the day, but Ben's Rally page was a internet site, big on all kinds of rallies out there. And I think it was Doo-Wops was coming up the next weekend. And I didn't even know rally existed at the time. But my girlfriend and I, thought it was the coolest thing ever. So we loaded up the car and headed down to, I don't know if that was out of Capitol Forest, Shelton area, or kind of close to Olympus, somewhere in there, maybe Belfair. But anyways, drove down there and watched that event, and then promptly came back and did a rally course. I think it was at a like ORV park type rally sprint out there where they'd train you all day. And then I think Dave Clark came in and talked about roll cages, and Joe Noyes, Ralph Cosmides, co-driver at the time, came in and talked about navigating. And then they'd stick you in a car and let you go around the course with a driver. So after that, my first ride was Joe Noyes' Mark IV Supra.
Wow.
And that pretty much set the hook. And ended up building my first Corolla maybe 2 years later, so maybe 2001. Mm-hmm. First event was a rally sprint, Rapidian Rally Sprint in Virginia.
So you moved back east at that point.
Yeah, I guess there's a missing link. So at some point in there, moved down to Atlanta.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so actually got a job where I could make some decent money down here, and then started building a car right away. Once a little bit of money started coming in.
So the addiction was pretty well set there. That as soon as you got a job, it didn't even matter where you were. You actually packed up and moved across the country, and still, I got to find a way to rally.
And it was kind of neat. When I moved down here, I was working on a river, the Ocoee River, which I don't know if you guys went to the Cherokee Trails, but it's actually centered right around the Ocoee River. And I was driving down the road, and I thought when I moved down here, I moved away from rally. And I'm heading down the highway, and I see an Audi, full spec gravel car sitting on a trailer on the side of the road. So immediately pull over and leave a note on the guy's windshield. And come to find out, kind of like when we found Ben's rally page, had no idea there was a rally coming up the next weekend. Cherokee Trails 2001 was literally going to be, 45 minutes from where I was living. So we worked that rally and then actually ended up running it a couple of years later.
So these things just like fell right in your lap, really, didn't they? It's like just finding out that there's something going on the next week. I mean, it's like it was like destined for you, really.
I'm a pretty lucky guy. Yeah, I usually stumble into things and it just works out. So very, very grateful it did. And yeah, it's pretty random.
All right. So you were saying that you built your first Corolla, and I guess what's the rallying been like for you out there on the east side, I guess? How many events a year were you doing about then?
So not very many, actually. The first one was actually a rally spin in Virginia, and then Cherokee, I think, was a year after that. But I ran right around 2001, 2002. I did Cherokee Trails and then Sandblast. And actually, I think I did Sandblast before Cherokee. And then somewhere in there, I got married. So the first 3 months of my marriage, I did 2 rallies in Sandblast and 100 Acre.
Brave man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then no rallies for like 7 years.
Okay, that's it. All right.
There you go. So just other stuff took precedent for a while, and buying a house and sold the car. But pretty much every time I sell a car, I end up building another one. So hopefully someday I'll learn not to sell them. It's easier just to keep one.
Little bit.
So I went back to school and I ran a couple rallies here and there, in borrowed cars or shared cars. But I really started getting back into it in 2015 and built up a E30 BMW and raced that, I think 3 or 4 events with NASA, and then moved over to Rally America in 2016, and did 3 or 4 events that year, and then went ahead and decided to build the Lexus in 17 and bring it out for 18. So the last 4 years I've been pretty heavy into it.
That brings us, of course, to the logical question of a Lexus? What was it that got you to decide on the Lexus as a platform? What is it, an IS350? Is that what it is?
Correct. Yeah, it's a 06 IS350. And so that's the first year of that body style. The IS300 was before that. And that body style, I think, runs up to the 2013. And so you might have noticed on the side of the car, I've got Jarco. Jarco is, now it's a family business. And it's actually the same guy that I used to work for when I built that Corolla back around 2000. He's my brother-in-law now, so we're vested. What they do is Toyota engines for Toyota dealerships and Lexus dealerships. And he's a big Toyota guy from way back. And he's always been like a great mechanical resource for me. It actually encouraged me to build the Corolla. So we've always kept him as a sponsor on the car. And he bared with the BMW, but he really wasn't. He was not a big fan.
But it's an E30. I mean, come on, they sound great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay, but the breaking point was I was looking at building another car, and RX-7. It's kind of I wanted to go back to Japanese engineering. That's kind of my background and what I've always been involved with. And with the BMW, it was a great car, but every time I had to get an 18 mil out or 16 mil out or 13 mil out, it just was grating on me. And I don't know. I just like Japanese cars, always have. So I was looking at Mazdas, and he kind of said, I got to draw the line at Mazda and a rotary. I just can't help you if you're going to build a rotary. And I was like, well, there's no good Toyotas. There's a BRZ, and a lot of people are running it successfully, but he's pretty diehard Toyota fan. He's really not a fan of the Subaru engine and the Toyota. And he actually said, what about the Lexus? And I was like, oh, no, way too heavy. It could never work. It's just too big, and it's, 3,600-pound car. And I kind of, blew off that idea and then started gnawing on it a little bit. And I said, well, let's look at the specs. So we looked it up, and it's within, I think if you look up a IS350 and compare it to like the latest version of the STI, it's within maybe 50 to 100 pounds, within 3 horsepower, and I think like 3/4 of an inch in all the dimensions.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So I was like, well, if they can drive those, it may be big, but maybe it's not too big. Let's look and see if we can get our hands on one. So I looked on Craigslist, and sure enough, there was a wrecked one for $800, not far down the road. So I figured we'll get it, look at it, see what we think. So we grabbed it and started looking at the suspension, and really to our surprise, it was really suited to rally. The front suspension is a downsized Tacoma design.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not utilizing a strut. It's actually got a upper and lower control arm, and then a vertical upright with a shock, and it uses the same shocks front and rear, their same style. So with that, we're able to use a off-the-shelf Bilstein like pre-runner type coilover. And so for really, robust, it's not adjustable, but robust, tunable suspension, you're looking at $350 a corner versus, maybe $5,000 to do a set of struts for a car. So that's worked out really well. And then travel, it's getting over 10 inches in the front and a little bit over 11 in the rear. And so far, the car just amazes me. I don't know. I never expected it to be as good as it is, honestly. It's just, it really does well on gravel.
Cool. So do Lexus know about this? I mean, there can't be any Lexus contingency, I guess.
I think they'd pay us to take the badges off the car, honestly. No, they like stuff we post every now and then online, but they don't care, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it's a cool build, and it sounds great too. I mean, wow, you can definitely tell when you go by.
Yeah, I was like watching one of the your in-car videos earlier on, and oh boy, the engine did sound pretty fantastic.
It does really well. It used to be quieter until Ohio last year. We were doing the super special against Seamus, and at Ohio they line you up side by side, pointing opposite directions, and you take off. And I couldn't hear my car until I got to the end of the straight. All I could hear was Seamus's car. And I said, okay, that's
game
it.
on.
It's got to be louder. That and we kept, we'd watch videos of the car, or be looking for videos after events, and they'd miss our car all the time because it was so quiet you couldn't hear it coming. So we made it louder.
I like it. Well, it sounds awesome, man.
This is good advice for beginners, isn't it? Make your car loud so that it gets seen by everybody.
Yeah,
it's a safety feature.
Yeah, you definitely aren't going to miss that one coming in the woods. It's actually really quiet until you're on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice, like, around town or just pulling in park for me, you almost can't hear it. But, once you start getting into it, it sings. It's actually, on transit, it's kind of obnoxious. It sounds terrible. But if you get it, 45 to 7,000 RPM, it really starts moving.
Well, when we had you on last time just to talk about LSPR, of which you won your class, you went on to win again recently, this inaugural Missouri Ozarks Regional Rally. Explain that event a little bit. It's a brand new one. It's a regional one-day event, right? Yeah, in the general area, I think where 100 Acre Wood is. Yeah,
so it's... I think they said maybe 100 miles from Potosi. I thought it was a little closer, but that's the number I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar dirt to the 100 Acre and sort of a similar feel. A little bit narrower than the 100 Acre roads, but really fun stages. It was made up, I think, 4 stages, and it was 12 miles each stage, and it was the same section of road. So you'd actually run it the same direction twice, and then they had a service, and then you'd run it the opposite direction 2 more times. And it was set up as a tulip rally. So instead of calling, every single corner, and I know you guys know what this is, but for everybody else, they just have the major features, the gotchas, the junctions, spectator areas, creek crossings, which there's 3 or 4 of, and so on. So a little bit different. You're not committing to the notes nearly as much. You're really trying to drive what you see. And we had run Show Me Rally. I guess that was early October. It was also tulips, but at that event, there was still a lot of green on the trees, and you really didn't have the line of sight. Whereas at Ozark, you could really, I don't want to say push, but you could tell where that road was going. So it was a little less stressful and a little more fun to really, commit over some of those crests.
Well, talking about commitment here, you had a charity thing that also led somehow in a roundabout way to your co-driver. Explain what that's all about.
So actually at that same company, Jarco, I met a guy named Joe Vitrano, and they recently lost their son to Fanconi anemia, which is obviously very tragic. But the charity that the fundraiser was for, Fanconi Anemia Research Foundation, really did a lot to help that family, both before and after, and support them in all sorts of ways. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but we've actually run Fanconi stickers or decals on the car since we debuted it. And nobody's ever asked anything about it. We are kind of doing it for awareness, and it just never really comes up. So we had it in our head to do a fundraiser and kind of just put it out front a little more for Fanconi Anemia Foundation. And I definitely learned a lot. I think we could run it a little bit smoother, but it went pretty well. And a lot of people supported the raffle. And basically what we did was raffle off the spot to co-drive at Ozark.
Wow. That's pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it was very cool. In what you were talking about in terms of my navigator, the guy that won, so it actually turned out being somebody from Jarco that won, because of course, friends and family put in a lot of money, buying tickets and supporting the fundraiser. But just about everybody that was family and some outsiders as well were donating their win to Joe, the father. So he ended up getting the ride, which was really neat because way back in 2000 when I went to Virginia, he was the guy that stepped up and said, "Hey, I'll sit for you at that event." So I wouldn't say he's my co-driver. He co-drove one race for me 20 years ago, but it kind of went full circle. He's an old superbike racer and has nerves of steel. I don't think I rattled him once. And we were committing, and he didn't miss a beat. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah, cool. You because really you didn't want anybody in the car like 3 miles down the road. They'd be screaming, pull over, I've had enough."
We just kind of looked at it as a fun event. So really no pressure. I would have taken anybody that wanted to sit, and that would have been fine. And that's kind of how we advertised it. It's like, look, if you want to sit over there and just watch and have fun, that's great. We'll drive what we see and look at it like a test. If you want to try and write some notes the first pass and call them back on the second pass, that's fine too. So, it was just a good thing for the foundation, and got us a test, and was an opportunity for somebody to have some fun. So.
I got good awareness for the cause. What was the cause's name again?
It's FARF for short, FARF. It's Fanconi Anemia Research Foundation. And Fanconi.org is the site.
I think this guy's, could end up doing more of this co-driving thing, because I see other people out of there's like 10, 11 entries had some time penalties, and you guys had none.
Yeah, he nailed it.
That's impressive. That's not an easy job.
He's a pretty careful guy, and he usually does a good job at anything he does. But he did have the benefit of course, Claudia Poland or Barbera rode out there with us and was also talking to him by Skype ahead of time and over Facebook and really got him up to speed. So he had a little bit of a head start, I think, over a lot of people. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what was the final total then? How much did you raise for the charity?
I think just over 2,100. At the close of the raffle, we were just over 2,000, and then a few more pledges came in after.
Well, that's
excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well done. It's a good thing to just spread the awareness and, of course, get those dollars rolling in.
Yeah, it's good to be able to use the sport that we love to raise money for good causes.
Absolutely, and it we put so much time and money into racing. To be able to do a little something is nice. I don't know if it's enough, but something's better than nothing. So, and we have ideas. I talked about doing it again for Show Me, but I think that's just going to be too soon. But I do think maybe we could make it a yearly event for Ozark, and we definitely learned a lot in the way we set up the raffle. Just making it easy for somebody to click and donate right away. There's some things we can do to improve. So if we come back next year, I think it'll have more success.
Let's talk about the future. Okay, this is the first event of the year for you. So then we got coming up some ARA events. Tell us about the 2019 season, because I see that you're already entered for 100 Acre Wood.
Yep. So we've been flip-flopping between going out west and staying east and trying to get our finger on the pulse of who else is going out west. But we're going to try for 4 nationals or 3 nationals and 1 super regional. Mm-hmm. So first event's going to be 100 Acre, and then Southern Ohio, and then SDPR, and then finish off the year with LSPR. And our goal, rather than trying to string a championship together, is just, within reason and hopefully within the limits, but run as fast as we can and try to build some more pace at those events.
Well, you're certainly picking four of the best events out there to compete at. I mean, I've done Southern Ohio. I love that, and LSPR is a cracker too. So there's some great rallies to get out there and run. And like you say, you've got the charities decals on the car. I mean, you can only give them more exposure as well.
And it should be a really fun season. Part of me was a little bit bummed about not going west, but to look at those 4 rallies that are coming up, it's going to be great, and we'll probably be, I guess, about the same number of rallies as last year, 4 and then the regional, but it should be really good, especially since we've done 100 Acre last year. We did LSPR last year. I've run STPR once in the BMW, so it'll be really nice, coming back to events now that we know the car a little better, know the roads a little better. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Well, I also saw that Eric Potts is looking like he's doing a rebuild on his car, and that's kind of one of the people I'm sure you're kind of targeting out there. And of course, you and Seamus like to go back and forth, battling it on the stages. You definitely one-upped him at LSPR. Anybody else?
I'm definitely watching Micah. Micah and Tyler out of Missouri are building they are quick, and they're building a new turbo car. I actually checked with them earlier to see how they're coming along, and they think they're going to get it done. And I don't know if you've ever seen his stage times, but honestly, if he puts together a clean run, he'll probably blow everybody out of the water. I mean, they're just they're fast, like next level fast. And he's had some mechanical issues and maybe gotten a little bit greedy here and there, but it's a lot easier to slow down a smidge than it is to speed up a smidge. So they're going to be a force. And then also Jesse Uvalli, I don't know if you guys have followed along, but he's been building a new TI compact BMW, and it's going to be, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it's S54 powered, which is a newer M3 engine. And I don't know, I'm not a BMW guy, but I think it's 350 horsepower, give or take, with a dog box, Samson's dog box. And he was very quick in his last car, which was the E30. So I'm sure when he gets that car together, another 100 horsepower plus the box, he'll be on it. It's really exciting to see the depth come back. We built the Lexus, and when we took 17 off, we were building that car to come back and race Steely and Millen and Dave in the R2 and Seamus. And then that year, everything just kind of fell apart in two-wheel drive.
Yeah,
So,
everybody switched classes.
Exactly. So, we still have Seamus, which obviously he's all the competition anybody needs. But it's going to be awesome to see some depth come back. And not just in two-wheel drive. All-wheel drive's looking pretty darn good for 100-acre too.
Oh, man. It's going to be pretty insane out there. I mean, that LS3 Sonic that Maro's got, I guess, is going to be competing.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
I'm still my brain just tries to process a V8 motor in a Sonic. I just... Is that sitting in his lap? What? I mean...
We saw the car at PRI, and it looks... I mean, it's like anything. I guess once it's done, it looks like it should be there. But they've packaged it really nicely in that car. It doesn't look that crazy in the car. It should be a hoot.
Well, yeah, so you got those guys. Of course, McKenna's going to be there. The Subaru's going to be there.
So you got that one coming back out, the AP4, RAV4?
I don't see him on the entry list yet, though. So I'm hoping he can make it there.
Technically, we're not on the entry list, and neither is Seamus, and neither is Katz on our team. So I think
all right, that's true. Really, and yet I've known that they're coming. So
yeah, I think early entry closes the 25th. So you still got some stragglers, and then you've got another group of folks that'll probably sign up after early entry. Just to live.
And it's already at 48 entries when I last looked. So. That'll definitely kick that up a good notch, and some great competition. I'm really looking forward to it because I've never been to 100-acre wood. So,
you're in for a treat.
Is there one thing that I should know special for 100-acre wood when I go out there?
Oh boy, yeah, of course the cattle guard. Fatella's jump.
Oh God!
Yeah.
it's named now Fatella's Jump after the giant. Oh man,
that's what we put in our notes. I think you only have to watch that video once and it sticks. So that's the name we use. Yeah. There's a lot of great spots. I can't think of many off the top of my head, but I would definitely put that one on the list. Make sure you catch the jump. Most of it's really fast and flowing with a little bit of margin. It'll be interesting to see is the depth in the field. More and more people compete and the competition gets tighter. It'll be very interesting to see people actually pushing and using all that road. Because you can drive quickly out there, and I've been watching some of my videos from last year, and there's just all kinds of room I wasn't using. So I don't know where that limit's at, but I know people are going to be running quick this year.
Sure, I'm just scribbling notes down for my driver here. So, yeah, it's certainly something Scott and I are looking forward to. Anyway, I've only ever been as a spectator before, so I will come down and look for you at Park Expose and introduce myself for sure.
We'll be in the Lexus. So
the Lexus, like the Chevy S10, are going to be vehicles that are easy to spot. That's one thing, isn't it?
Is the S10, is it stock engine or is there something in it?
No, right now it's got a Avalanche engine in it, which is what is like a 3.8 liter or something like that. So
V8 or
no, it's just the 4-cylinder.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's extremely economical as well. We did we crashed out on the start of the second day, but we did a jibway on 1 tank of gas.
Oh, you'd be driving Claudia crazy. She likes getting the weight of the fuel out of there. She'd be adding 6 ounces every service.
All right, so you're going to be going then, seems, for the Eastern Regional Open Two-Wheel Drive Championship.
Actually, I won't be running for a championship. It's kind of funny. So I think you mentioned Potts. I think she'll be running out west with Potts for a couple events, hopefully Olympus and Oregon Trail. So I'll actually be running national, and then hopefully that'll be enough points for Claudia to get the National Co-Drivers Championship.
Oh, that's cool of you, man. That's great. So Claudia's going to be running with you on some events, and she's going to go out west. She's going to be running with Potts.
Yep, exactly. And it sounds cool to me, but I really just want to race Seamus.
And he always enters national, right?
Exactly. So I've got my own reasons for it, but yeah, I definitely. But hopefully she can get it for the season. So we'll see.
Well then, as we close things out for tonight, is there any special place that everybody should follow the River City Racing team and all the goings on as you compete this season?
Yeah. Of course, we're on Facebook. It's at River City Rally fan page. I got that right? Actually, I think it's fan page at River City Rally. Excuse me. And then we're also on Instagram, River City Rally. And something else that's kind of cool to follow, if you're not a fan of the Lexus, Brian Katz, my buddy and longtime crew guy, and actually someone that helped me build the car. He's one of the guys that was there just about every week, staying late, trying to get the car ready. Just bought his own car and actually debuted that at Ozark as well. So we now got two cars on the team, not just the Lexus. We got another E30.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it's neat to see. He just at Ozark actually ended up 5th overall in his first rally ever and first in class. So it was pretty neat to see him nail it right out of the box.
We're really looking forward to seeing you at 100 Acre Wood. Excited for your season and to see the Lexus out there. One thing I got to say is, you're a man that grew up in the Pacific Northwest, now live in Tennessee, and yet you still ended up with a Southern accent. I don't know how that happened, but it's pretty cool, man.
I'm impressionable.
Love it.
Mike is also a little bit sick that you're not competing in the Pacific Northwest this year as well.
Yeah, we'll get it together one of these years. I'd love to come out there and race those guys in those roads and see what we could do. It's on the list. It'll happen someday. maybe next year. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, it was great. Thanks for chatting with us, Mike. That was I shall look forward to meeting you at 100 Acre, and then maybe we'll get a beer later.
That sounds good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
So, thank you there to the Hoop for spending some of his evening with us to talk about what's been going on with River City Rally this year. So, now Mike and I are going to move on to other news. We haven't
had time to talk about news in a while. I mean, we keep having all these guests on, all that stuff. We don't just get a chance to chit chat, man.
I'm just looking at our list of other news here, and it goes on quite a ways, doesn't it?
Well, let's get caught up. Move on, man. Do it.
I am indeed. I'm going to start. I'm going to start with somebody I recently discovered. It's a 17-year-old Irish co-driver, Sarah McFadden. Now,
stalker.
17-year-old co-drivers are probably 10 a penny in the Irish rally community, but Sarah is pretty special because Sarah was born with albinism and nystagmus. So everybody knows what albinism is. That's you're an albino, you got no pigment in your skin. But nystagmus probably needs a little more of an explanation. It's a visual disorder. You know how when you look at something in the distance and you turn your head and you keep your eyes focused on the distance, your eyes move to track the object in the distance. Well, with nystagmus, that movement is voluntary, and basically it's all the time. So I believe you can't focus on distant objects too well. So she's not allowed to drive because of this visual impairment. Now, she comes from a rally family. Both her mom and dad have competed or even compete in the Irish rally scene. So she became a co-driver for her dad. She couldn't drive, so she became a co-driver. I mean, and it seems like she's pretty darn good at it, because they've already had a podium finish in one rally this year at the Sligo Stages, I believe it was, and I think that's in August or September. So, but right now, and this is the cool thing, she's picking up lots of awards for, like, in Ireland, for being like Irish Young Person of the Year or Disabled Person of the Year for her achievement in overcoming this her disability. I hate to call it a disability, actually, because she is doing what we all do, and it's like it's so cool, isn't it? People with disabilities, impairments, what have you. I mean, we always want to bring these people in and get them involved with these things, and here she is. She's leading the field. I think it's great. She's I'm going to put her on my sporting heroes list because of what she's doing with this impairment. No, so she's up there with Alex Zanardi and Billy Munger, really. So if you want to give her a bit of support, she's on Facebook. It's Sarah McFadden, Visually Impaired Rally Navigator. And Sarah McFadden is spelled SARAMCFADDEN. So all my co-driving friends over here in the States, go and like her and show her some support for what she's doing. I think it's cool. I think it's great.
That is awesome. One of the other things we have in our news for this week is talking about rent an R5. Yes, you too can rally a Fiesta, an M Sport Fiesta R5 here in the States, because McKenna Motorsports, Barry McKenna's team, is offering the ability to rent one. That's kind of sounds like a pretty killer deal, man.
Mm-hmm. Is it going to be cheaper than buying an Audi R8?
I think it would probably be, yes, cheaper than buying one. Yeah, it depends on how many events, I guess, you rent for, right?
Well, you're going to want to rent it for a season, aren't you?
Yeah, there you go. So at least a season, but I'm guessing that's still cheaper than owning an R8. I'm sure you could do several seasons before you get up to that level.
Yeah. But that's cool that we got top level WRC. Well, not top level, but high level WRC equipment available to drive here in the States. That's great.
Yeah, no, I think that's an amazing piece of machinery. I think it's something that we want to see more of here in the States. The ARA, when we were talking to Doug, he was talking about how they made a slight rules change to make it easier for these FIA homologated cars to be able to compete in the ARA, and I'm all for it. I'd like to see more of that stuff. I think this is the kind of car that could compete against the top Subaru guys in the right hands. And whoever's got the budget or the sponsorship backing to make that happen, I would love to see it. Let's see here. Elsewhere in our other stuff in the news, one thing we haven't really mentioned yet is Subaru Motorsports, because for those of you that remember it, Subaru Rally Team USA has rebranded themselves, and that new livery that we're going to see.
It's that's a classic livery, and it's being echoed very nicely in the new style design. Yeah.
Well, hats off to Subaru for again, just showing the rally heritage and how important that is to their brand, and obviously just kind of goes along with their support of rallying in general, and it's just pretty killer.
So perhaps you know a bit more about than me. Is this return to rallying from Andy Pinker?
Well, at least an interest. One of the things that we've really noticed since, just over the time since ARA's been around, is this growth in the sport, the expanded interest of what's been going on, and Andy Pinker, who was a competitor back in the mid to late 2000s. Unfortunately, it was kind of before my time.
Yeah, I'm seeing here the last time he competed in America was 2008.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a while. Like I said, it was before I really started getting into the sport, which was more around 2010, 2011. But he's been, out there trying to see what would it take to take on the top Subaru guys. He was known to be a very fast driver, and he's thinking about what investment, what kind of vehicle would be able to make David Higgins maybe sweat a little bit at the front end. So this guy sounds like he's really got the interest and potentially the ability with the history that he's got. And if he has the right car under him, maybe the R5 would be enough. My thought is on the tight, twisty stuff, I think something like an R5, the Fiesta platform in general, I think probably is an advantage. But also you got to deal with the fact that Subaru as a team, right? You're not just competing just with your car. You're competing against a team that has a guy that works every corner, a guy that works the engine, it's just massive. It's literally the same as what the WRC has as far as team effort, and that's going to be the tough thing to kind of overcome. But I'm all for it, though. Andy, if you can somehow end up with the backing to go at it full force, dude, more power to you. We'd love to see you out there.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, something we alluded to at the start of the show is you were appearance on the Absolute Rally podcast. Are you allowed to tell us what transpired on there, or do we have to wait until next week to hear what happened?
Oh, it's just, what, those guys over there, they're awesome. They're the ones that get top WRC drivers, and to be even invited to discuss what's going on here in America with rallying is such an honor. And big fan of Tony Simpson and Ryan Champion and the rest of the crew over there. Those guys are just top notch when it comes to, if I could aspire to anything when it comes to a podcast, it would be like what they do. And really appreciate that they invited me over. And really it was talking about what is going on with the American Championship. We've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of growth. We've already talked about it before, the massive expansion now with Rally America kind of going away. And, want people, the people over there want to know what's going on and, how to follow and hear about the changes. And it was really kind of focusing mostly on that. One of the other interesting things that they're going to have actually on this week's show is someone that we're going to probably want to try and get on our show as well. And that they were talking to Alex Curiani. Many Americans may remember way back when he was nicknamed Rally Brat. And Alex is an American co-driver who moved to Britain, and he's actually got dual citizenship now that I think about it. And anyways, he's been able to balance his work life with his rally life. He's got actually some posts he's been doing through his through LinkedIn. And he really talks about having to balance a professional life with the professional rally life with a professional, business life. And he's found a way to do it. And he's got a great opportunity this year where he's going to be competing in the junior WRC with yet another American that I feel bad I didn't know this guy, but Sean Johnston. Sean Johnston's going to be the driver, and Sean is a former of Nissan's GT Academy from Gran Turismo. I don't know if you've heard about this, but this is literally where you play the video game to a level where if you beat everybody out, you get a chance to, with the Nissan Nismo group or whatever, you get to go to like the shootout thing where you get to go and race a real car against other drivers, and they basically find out if you're going to, you have the chops to become a real race car driver. Well, he's then moved on to competing in the 2012, the IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge and won that. That's with Porsche cars in real life. Not simulated, this is real. Moved to Europe and has competed in the Porsche Super Cup and the Porsche Carrera Cup in Germany. And now he's transferring those skills and abilities into his first foray into rallying. I think he did just one rally event so far, kind of learning how it is. And I think he's had his first wreck so far, too, if I remember reading a little bit from Alex Curiani's blog. But, he's got that out of the way now, right? But they're going to be competing in not just the WRC, JWRC, the Junior WRC, but also in the European Rally Championship. So really excited to have two Americans out there. Obviously someone with a lot of skill too, competing at that level over there in Europe. That'll be pretty kick-ass.
Excellent, because when we talked to Dylan Van Way, was it last year? And he said the thing that held him back in the JWRC was not being able to compete with these guys at the highest level week after week. And if you're doing the JWRC and the ERC, then you're competing against a higher standard of competition for longer. So that's got to work well for Sean's development. Well, the whole team's development, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it certainly has. And like I said, I couldn't be more excited to see how they're going to do out there. And their first event is going to be this weekend, Sweden.
Oh, Sweden, of course it is. Yes, Sweden this weekend.
Yep, first round of the JWRC. And so everybody, if you listen to this show and you like rallying, definitely listen to Absolute Rally Podcast. Those guys over there, they're just brilliant. Really, really good show.
So something else we need to give a mention to, or give a mention to Henry Krolikowski, who is currently in hospital battling an illness. Henry and his wife Cindy have been mainstays of the North American rally scene for many years, and so we just want to let them know that we're thinking of them and hope for a recovery for Henry, so we can see him out on the rally circuit again.
Yeah, that's just a sad thing, but he's a press on regardless kind of guy. Really tough. He's up for the challenge from what it sounds like. And Henry, we all wish you the best and hope that you end up healing up quickly, and we'll see you back out there.
So I don't have anything else, Mike. Do you have anything else?
At this point, I'm going to interject a little bit of extra news. One of the things that's challenging about doing news on a podcast is that by the time you edit it and get it posted, the old news can be quite old. And go figure, the day after we recorded our show, we got the big news that Oliver Solberg will be competing in 6 rounds of the American Rally Association National Championship in the second Subaru from Subaru Motorsports USA. The rounds he'll be missing, though, are Oregon Trail and Ojibwe. But in those rounds, we'll have Travis Pastrana back in the car, so that'll be kind of cool. Also, since this is Sunday, and yes, sorry it's taken me that long to edit, it's been a busy week at home, but as it is Sunday, I watched, of course, the end of WRC Sweden, in which an impressive Sean Johnston and friend of the show, Alex Curiani, finished 5th in their first junior WRC event. The 5th place finish equals the best of Americans Dylan Van Wey when he finished 5th in Finland, I believe it was, in 2017. But that's really not bad for Sean's debut at the world level. He's got very limited rallying background and experience. And of course, all the junior WRC drivers compete in identical Fiesta R2Ts, and they receive points based on the finishing position, but also get a bonus point for each stage that they win. So because of that, Sean and Alex actually currently sit 7th in the JWRC, not 5th. That's because some of the other competitors had some stage wins. The next junior WRC event is Rally Mexico in March, so we won't have to stay up all night to follow the progress of these two guys. They're definitely going to just keep getting better and better. Again, sorry for the late bit of news and late post of this podcast. We hope to have another one for you next week.
I think that's it for this week. We've been kind of doing a show a week, and I'm sure we'll try and find something for next week, man.
Well, yeah, and don't forget, we have got number 50 coming up, well, next. So maybe we should work on something special for that. I don't know. But 50 should be noted in some way. So
we'll see what we can come up with. A little bit extra.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so that about wraps it up for this week. Remember, you can now get our show on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or just search your favorite podcast app. We're also on all the popular social media platforms, and if you're one of those people that use YouTube for everything, well, we're on there as well. So subscribe, tell a friend, like, share, and who knows, maybe with enough of you subscribing and sharing, we can get a sponsor or something. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Ian Holmes, and thanks to Mike for letting me do this week. If you enjoyed it, maybe he'll let me do it again some other time, but until then, we'll talk to you next time.